Hi, my name is Brittany. I'm one of the two librarians for the Fresno County Public Library. I'm here to welcome you to our Summer at Your Library digital programs. Before we begin, I want to take this moment and encourage you to check out our summer webpage at fresnolibrary.org/summer. You will find more information about all the wonderful things our library has to offer you this summer, like more fun programs for kids, teens, and adults, take and make crafts for teens, and even a reading program for all ages. And you can win prizes. So make sure you don't miss out on all the fun this summer and visit fresnolibrary.org/summer and enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, my name's Erika Brown and I have Raquel Ramirez here with me. We are both real specialists, that's work readiness, independent living specialists here at RICV in our Fresno office. As you can see, we're probably not in our office. We are at home. Right now we're doing remote. But we are so happy to have this opportunity to present what we feel is very important when we're working with our consumers, and that's building healthy relationships. A lot of our consumers have anxiety and have not so great communication skills, and that has a lot to do of being confident in building that relationship. So we're going to show you our slides and we're going to talk about how to build healthy relationships. So let me share my screen. All right, so how to build healthy relationships. We're going to establish healthy relationships in the workplace, in your friendships, dating, and self-love for yourself. So how to have a healthy relationship with your boss. First of all, one of the main things when starting an employment opportunity is showing your availability, your reliability, and your loyalty to the company. Another way is to make sure you're completing those tasks that you have to do in your position, but always ask if anyone else needs assistance. We strive in that, and we always promote that it's better for you to help others than just helping yourself. It's better to give than it is to receive. It's always good to set up that weekly or bi-weekly meeting with your employer, just to make sure everyone's in the loop, everyone's on the same page. We meet with our employer once a week, sometimes twice a week, depending on each task that we have for a specific consumer. And it helps us so much because our employer helps us and educates us on how to handle a situation. Another thing is showing your appreciation. Be open-minded, listen, be ready for constructive criticism, and look at it as a positive opportunity for your growth and success, and not only for you, but for the company as well. Workplace with your coworkers. So again, when you're building that relationship with your coworkers or your colleagues, don't focus on yourself. When we only focus on ourselves, we don't allow ourselves to take in others. We should, sometimes we don't. We should show in all aspects, appreciate one's role, understanding, and appreciate their differences. So everyone is different, every shape, form, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and we want to respect that. You know, sometimes we may not agree on something, but it's never our part to necessarily interfere with that. And I appreciate that so much in our organization that we work for, because we have a wide variety of people with different disabilities, and we figure out how to work together with our own skills that we have. Another thing is to embrace those new opportunities. Sometimes we go into a situation where, or experience where it's kind of in the unknown for us. But if we have an open mindset about it and confident and wanting to learn, yearning for that opportunity, it helps make that experience go smoother. Another thing is to acknowledge and encourage each other. That builds a huge, huge relationship with your coworkers, with your boss, all around your life, with every relationship you have. Being present, being sure you're in that meeting, you're in that presentation, you're in in your job with your client or consumer that you're there, you're listening, you're ready to go. Keep your commitments, respond promptly. Don't let that wait. Don't let that sit, because that shows that you're not interested in helping that person. And work in a productive manner. It's good to be realistic. If there's something that you can't accomplish with your coworker, be realistic about it. Go ask help. Understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. So now we're going to go and talk about your relationship with your customers. We're going to show a video in just a moment too, but when assisting customers, remember that the customer is vulnerable and is in need of your help. So a lot of people think that vulnerability is a weakness, but it's actually a strength. When we're able to show and connect with people saying, hey, I really think you can help me out here because I do need help in this situation, no matter where we work. Whether regular or new customers, always take the time to find 3 facts that you've learned about them and every person you interact with. I found this task so rewarding, because in other places where I worked at, even starting off working in the coffee shop, you get regulars, you get new people all the time. It was so refreshing to make that conversation last, and they are intrigued by that, especially when you get their order right. So I appreciate that a lot. Show that you appreciate their business. And remember, it's not all about the money. I really stand by that. We're living in hard times right now. California is getting more expensive, but if we don't focus on the little things and appreciate what we do for our customers, our clients, our consumers, we're not helping them in any way. We need to show that we're giving them their undivided attention. So I'm going to go ahead and play this YouTube video right now. It's about a 10-minute long video, but I found this super, super important. So we're going to go ahead and watch this.
Hey, Marianne Donava is here with the 6-Figure Mastermind. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about how to build really strong relationships with your customers. You know they're the root of your business. You know they're the root of your success. So let's strengthen that bond. Business is all about relationships. And if you want to be successful in business, you've got to have great relationships with your customers. There's very specific things that you can do to cultivate a super strong relationship with your clients and a super strong relationship with any mentors you may come across. It comes from both sides. A relationship is built from 2 sides of the bridge. Let's build the bridge. Let's make it happen. If you want to have a great relationship with your customers, you've got to have an active experience with the customer. That means if the customer is purchasing from you, that you want to be there every step of the way. And when they say the fortune is in the follow-up, that means the fortune is in the follow-up. When we say the fortune is in the follow-up, here's what that means. The follow-up means I've had a contact with you and I need to make another one. That follow-up may be before or maybe even after the sale. But here's the thing, the customer wants to be with you the entire time because they've opted into your product or service, which means they've opted into your lifestyle. Check out our other videos on how to build customer loyalty. You're going to learn a lot about the lifestyle. And people nowadays are drawn to a less professional approach, meaning that we've seen the days of people in front of the guru. We've seen the guru on front of the stage, the inaccessible one who knows all the answers and has no relevancy to us as normal people. We saw it in the presidential elections just a few years ago. Do you remember when Mitt Romney was running for president and they said, oh, people can't relate to him because he's not familiar with how people show up in life and he's not familiar with being poor and whatever it is. People had a huge hissy fit after they realized that they didn't feel really close to this person because there was this professional air that was going on. When that professionalism is stripped away, the guise of professionalism is stripped away, and you see the real, genuine, authentic person behind the professional persona, people are drawn to that. Think about the people that you admire most. Do you remember watching Susan Boyle on American Idol? Do you remember when she walked out onto that stage dressed beautifully and she blew the judges away because of how talented she was, of how vulnerable she was? She was an incredible example of this, of just being her and going for it. Now, there's something to be said about being refined, about being polished, about being presentable. Those are all good things. Those are all wonderful things. But if you start to pretend that you're something that you're not, people will feel that. People will feel that and they won't want to do business with you because there's some level of inauthenticity, which means some level of fake, which means some level of lie, which is me, don't touch. Don't want anything to do with that. So let me give you a couple of examples. I have a colleague in the business who is very, very concerned about how they appear and about how their lifestyle appears and about how they look. And they've kind of put this mask up that says, you must obey and go with what I put up as my mask so that I can feel good about me, so that you can feel good about me. And if I make mistakes, no one can know about it because I'm the one that's supposed to know everything. And to be honest, I at one point fell into that trap too of, oh gosh, now I'm the one who knows everything and now I can't make mistakes. Otherwise, what would people think? You know what they would think? They would think you're human. That's what we're all doing. We're all figuring this thing out. And even the one who knows so much about their field and their craft and they have success and results to show it, I got news for you. They're still making mistakes. They're still goofing up sometimes. But the brilliance of them is how they get back up again. And that's what the public wants to see. That's what your customer wants to see. They want to see the real person behind all of the fancy lights and behind all of the logos and behind all of this. I'll give you another example of this. I recently became friends with Grant Thompson. Many of you may have heard of him. He's the king of random. He's got an amazing YouTube channel right over next door. Grant is an amazing human being. And I knew him as this rock star person. And when we got into an arena where we could actually strip away all the titles, strip away all the fame and all of the labels and all of the logos and all of the business and get down to the nuts and bolts, I actually developed an amazing relationship with him and his wife. In fact, we go and play at Lowe's Air Sports Gym every now and then together, and about once a week, and we go play and we just have fun. And I'll watch as people come up to him and they'll recognize him and say, oh my gosh, you're the king of random. Can we take a picture? That's so cool to meet you. And I love that fandom and that super high energy, and it's super fun. But people will put this funny chasm between themselves and someone they admire that says, somehow we're different and somehow I can't be like you. And if you're in business for yourself, you know that chasm can't be made by you. You can't control it if your fans make it. You can't control it if people are starstruck or not and how they show up to. But you can say, you know what? I'm a real person. I'm just figuring this out. Yeah, it's cool. I have a bunch of success, but I still have things that I'm working on. I still have places where I can mess up and be vulnerable. As long as you can maintain that humanity, that's what actually attracts people to you. One of my most successful stage presentations was one that I actually had a breakdown on stage. I had some emotions come up, some tears, some breathless moments where I wasn't speaking very well. And after that presentation, I had more people walk up to me than probably any of my other presentations, some of them combined, because of how relatable it was. When we say get rid of the professional approach, we're just saying be relatable, be human. It's okay to be flawed. It's okay to mess up. And in fact, people relate to you way better when that's the case. If you want to build a strong relationship with your customer, not only do you need to be an active participant in what they're doing, not only do you need to be relatable, it's time to get a good memory. I remember meeting with Ed Hoyt. He's one of the top business producers that I have ever met, sold the last company for billions of dollars. And when I met with him, I had met him twice in my entire life. I was so impressed by this man because the second time I met him, he asked me how my husband was doing and I remembered that he was a chef. I was blown away that he remembered that little bit from me. I don't know if he stalked me on Facebook and found it out and just looked me up before I came in the room or what it was. And frankly, I didn't even care because I felt how genuine he was with me. I felt that he really cared and really was concerned about me and what I was working on and about my relationships. I admired that about him. So when I saw that he did that, I thought, you know what? I need to care about what other people care about. Back in the days when there were switchboards and when you called someone, you called the operator and they plugged you in literally to the person that you wanted to talk to and kind of listened in on every single conversation that ever happened. Do you know what the number one most common word was that was heard over those telephone waves? Take a guess. What was the most common word? You could guess like me or hello or hi. The most common word recorded on those telephone waves, I. Single letter, lots of meaning. People are most interested in themselves. So be interested in what your customers are interested in, meaning be interested in them. That is the most genuine and authentic way to grow your customer base and to grow those customer relationships, is to be interested in what your customers are interested in. Take an interest in what they're talking about. Look up what they're doing and find out. Facebook is an open forum, guys. Find out what your customers are doing. Find out what their lifestyles are like. Find out, what they're struggling with, especially if you're in a coaching relationship with them, which means you're spending time with them on a regular basis. Ask them about their lives. Keep tabs on what they're doing. Offer to help where and if you can, and build that amazing customer relationship. So you've got amazing customer relationships because you're being vulnerable. You've got amazing customer relationships because you've got a good memory, and you've got an amazing customer relationship because you're taking time to experience the customer's experience right alongside them. Your customers are your best friends. At least that's my favorite kind of customers. People I love to spend time with, people I love to hang around, people I love to be around. And you guys, let's hang out. Let's spend some time with each other in the comments thread here. I want to open up this discussion with what is your favorite way to connect with people, especially if they're brand new people that you've never met, maybe online, maybe out in public, who knows? Hit the subscribe button. Let's chat tomorrow. Hey, Marianne Denava is here with the 6th.
There we go. All right, so many good points from that video about having genuine relationships. And so I really appreciate that video so much. So we're going to go over building meaningful relationships in the workplace. Being a positive source, even in a toxic environment. What I mean by that is no matter how much of a negative experience we have with something, we still have the power to make that decision and turning that around, whether it's with the whole group or just within ourselves, just to get through the day. Take genuine interest in others. That was explained in that video, and it is vital. Be generous with your encouragement. You should always encourage people. You never know who you come across that could be having one of the worst days in a long time, or they might have a bad day almost every day. And like I said, it's a choice, and try choosing to encourage one another. Be easy to get along with. Go with the flow. Don't take things too personal. Sometimes we fall short in understanding what someone says or fall short of how we speak to one another. So let's not focus on the negative. Let's give someone that benefit of the doubt in order to establish a better relationship. So I have this quote by Mother Teresa. Says, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. So that meaning, it never fades away. Just being a good person to someone, it'll never fade away. That experience that customer had with you on how you made a difference or impacted maybe that day, maybe for a long time, maybe for the rest of their life. They took something out of that experience from what you gave them. All right, so I came across a video that was way too long, but this woman named Shasta Nelson, she's an author and she specializes in healthy relationships with friends and other aspects. She has created a triangle called frientimacy. And frientimacy is a relationship where both people feel seen in a safe and satisfying way. So she took a poll with 6,000 people and asked, how satisfied are you with the closeness of your friendships on a scale from 1 to 10? 50 to 70% of those people, those 6,000 people, are at 5 or below. And one of the reasons is they're not asking themselves, yes, we come across a lot of people every single day. We know people for a long period of time, but are these people that we might have built a surface relationship, but we're not seeing that necessarily? Are we able to confide in them? Sometimes, well, according to the percentage, we're not. And it's really hard to do that without thinking of the 3 steps of friendimacy. So ask yourself, who is part of your safety net? That group, or maybe that one person that will be the most reliable, and vice versa. You have to give that as well. So let's talk about those 3 steps. I'm going to move on to the next slide with the bigger picture. The first part that starts it is at the bottom of the triangle, positivity. Every negative action, one negative action, we need to give back 5 positive reactions to that one negative reaction. It's just really important to do that because, again, you can't build off a friendship with negativity. At least I haven't heard that. So positive is the biggest, not the biggest, but it is the bottom. That is what is the first part of your formula to this triangle. The second part is consistency, and that's to the left of the triangle, okay? That's where the history of your relationship builds. That's where you increase your interactions. You trust, you build that trust, you build that loyalty, that connection with someone because it's consistency. It's constantly growing. What Shasta pointed out was that the most common area in our life that we have this moment of these 3 aspects of the formula was in school. We see them every single day. We play with them on the playground. We have lunch together. But that also can go past school. It can go to college. It can go to work. It could go to maybe whatever religion you're in, to where you meet. It just, consistency is another main key. Another part to making your way to the top of the triangle, which is the last part, is vulnerability. Again, it's not really common as a positive action to have. I know in my lifetime, growing up, especially I'm the first girl in my family, and being around a bunch of boys, being vulnerable wasn't really practiced, so if I was vulnerable, it was like, get used to it, just deal with it. But being vulnerable to your relationships, you reveal and let people in. And when you let people in, you are seen. Sharing what we are feeling and ask what we need from that person. We want to feel loved, and we want to feel known. It's really important. So ask yourself how we can have so many people in our life and still feel lonely. And loneliness is a huge, huge problem in the public health. It can cause so many health side effects. It can cause depression, it can cause anxiety. Actually, it can cause the beginning phases of Alzheimer's and dementia as we get older. A lot of people don't know that. So when we meet these people, when we have these people in our life, at that moment, sometimes we feel like we don't need that person, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to add more people into our life. It means that the people we have in our life, we know we have them in there for a reason. So why not break that down and try to create that friendimacy, these 3 key formulas to that triangle. When developing the relationship with that formula, the relationship moves to the top of that triangle again. Showing ourselves, sharing our feelings, and sharing our stories. Again, with vulnerability, it's a huge, important aspect, just like the other two. But remember, we can't start in a negative aspect. We have to start with that positivity, then work on the consistency of that friendship. Then being able, when we work on that consistency and that trust, then that means we are capable of sharing that with them. And so there's a whole segment about this. And again, Shasta Nelson has a book on this. It's really good information. I encourage you guys to follow her on YouTube whenever you get the chance. So I'm going to go ahead and have Raquel take the next part of our.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about building a strong foundation for dating. So there are many ways to have met a potential partner, either through blind dates, dating apps, mutual friends, or just simply out in the community. Nowadays, there's a lot of opportunity for you to meet someone out in public, or even we have a lot of apps that have been generated through our phones, and we have a lot of social media. So there's a lot of different ways to meet a partner. But before we do that, we want to reflect on all the pros and cons of our past relationship. And we want to be honest with ourselves. We want to take a look at how our relationship was in the past and why it didn't work out. And we want to ask what we have done differently and what we could do better in the future. And then also we want to make sure that we're in a place mentally where we're capable of meeting the needs of our partner. We want to make sure that we ourselves are, we're happy, we're able to be okay alone. We're able to have a foundation strongly by ourselves first. And then we're able to let someone else into that foundation and start building like that. And so it kind of goes with just like everyone else deserves someone special, so do you. So if you're in a place or mind frame where you're not, you're not 100%, like if you feel like you're negative or you're angry or you're just unhappy, we don't want to go into a relationship with those characteristics, because then we're going to make them angry or bring that negativity, and that's not fair for them either. So after some self-reflection, take some time to realize what you want and in your future partner. So this can mean what you want, like for instance, where do you want to live? What kind of job do you want to have? How many kids do you want to have? These are all things that you need to establish within yourself. So that way, when you do find a partner and you bring those to the table, you know what you want. And then you have to categorize what you'll accept and what you will not accept in the relationship. You have to establish standards and do not alter them to go against what you have already set for yourself. So once you establish these standards, you don't want to alter them. You don't want to say, if you are a firm believer, like for instance, this is just an example, if you're a firm believer that you don't want no kids, and this person comes into your life and you build this relationship or you start dating, and then they say that they want kids, that right there should be where you take a step back and just say, okay, this isn't going to work out. Because once you start altering your own standards, that's when things get messed up. And then in the future, there's always that, oh, we'll talk about it when we get to that point. But once you get to that point, you're going to start talking, and then you're going to be like, well, I told you, I never wanted kids. And then they're going to be like, well, I wanted to. And so there's going to be that conflict. Excuse me. And then once that conflict starts, there's going to start building resentment. And resentment is one of the ways that your relationship could end, or it could diminish, because you have that resentment towards that other person. So you want to make sure that when you have these standards, that you don't alter them, and that you just stick with them. And then over time, you'll find that right person, and through the journey of discovering them, it'll be so much more worth it. So in that, does your relationship contain the 4 C's? So one of the 4 C's is communication. So effective communication saves time, emotions, and relationships. Body language is also a big part of communicating. So when you're talking to someone, you want to show that they have your interest. You don't want to, be sighing or rolling your eyes or anything like that. And then also keep in mind that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Be mindful, and most of all, listen. The biggest want in communication is to be heard and understood. So when we're talking with our partner, really what we both want from each other is just to be heard. We want to be able to express ourselves and be able to say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I want, this is what I need, can we work on this? And at the end of the day, that's all we want from each other, is to be heard and just be seen as a person, as an individual. So the next one is commitment. Reassert your partner to build trust. Prioritize your partner to make them feel valued, and never do anything to compromise the relationship in a negative way. So commitment is another big C. We want to make sure that we do set time aside for our partner, because at the end of the day, they want to, be able to spend that time with you. They want to, even though we may have a busy schedule, they want to see that you set aside a time for them, so that way you can, build a better relationship with them. And so the next one is compassion. Even though, we're in a relationship with this person, or, we're trying to build this person, we're starting to date this person and, become, into a relationship. One of the things that I think we kind of forget about sometimes is, at the end of the day, we're still individual people. And with being individuals, there's still things that we need as just being humans. And one of those is compassion. And so we want to motivate our partner. We want to say encouraging words, and we want to offer help when we see them struggling. And then also we want to celebrate their accomplishments, never make them feel like their feelings don't matter, or that they're a burden to us. And then the last one is compromise. Good compromises, good compromises help you and your partner grow together as a team, being able to put your needs aside from them and vice versa. It also shows that you guys have a common goal in mind, which is the relationship. So for example, if you guys are trying to pick out a date night and you want to stay in and they want to go out, well, maybe, this time we'll stay in, but next time we'll go out. So these are the compromises, or, even like with food, just in case, like say, for instance, you guys are going out for lunch and then this person wants, tacos, and then you want sushi. There's always that give and take in a relationship. And then right here we have a video, 12 signs that you're in a healthy relationship. So we're going to go ahead and watch this.
Many of us want to be in happy and meaningful relationships. But nowadays, in a dating scene plagued with superficiality and an abundance of choice, making a relationship long-term while staying sane is much easier said than done. The initial spark is great, but it takes a lot more than attraction to sustain a relationship. What are some ways we can keep a healthy relationship and ensure longevity with our partners, you may ask? Here are 12 signs you are in a healthy relationship. 1. You communicate openly. A great relationship starts with transparency. Do you feel like you can communicate about anything with your partner, from personal needs to taboo topics? Do the both of you take the time to listen and empathize with each other? Good communication means using assertive techniques, which includes welcoming body language, concentrative listening, and respectful language. 2. You argue. This might sound strange, but arguing sometimes is actually healthy in a relationship. Otherwise, you're probably just bottling up your feelings and letting them turn into resentment. Couples who communicate well can argue effectively. Both parties can state their opinions while trying to understand where the other person is coming from. They also know when to apologize when they are wrong. This point, however, shouldn't be confused with destructive fighting, in which couples use aggressive behavior and language to hurt each other when they disagree about an issue. 3. You keep relationship details private. It's normal to turn to close friends and family for relationship advice when you run into conflict with your partner. But making your problems public on social media is passive-aggressive and can damage the trust you've built with them. Everyone needs a sense of privacy to feel safe, including relationships. 4. You don't hold grudges. The more you get to know your partner, the more you may get on each other's nerves, which is normal. We all get a little agitated from time to time and say and do things we don't mean that can upset our partners. But holding a grudge even after they apologize sincerely can hurt your relationship in the long run. Be sure to talk things out instead when you're upset and learn to let go. 5. You have realistic expectations. The perfect partner doesn't exist. It takes a lot of work to keep a relationship going. Healthy couples understand that the key to a long-lasting relationship is commitment, open communication, and compromise. 6. You take time and space for yourself. Being in a healthy relationship doesn't mean you're glued at the hip. It means you can have separate lives, interests, and friends, and maintain your own sense of individuality without fearing that your partner is going to be jealous or resentful. Having a life outside of a relationship is essential. 7. You trust each other. Healthy couples can spend time away from each other without worrying about their whereabouts or who they're with. Stalking a partner on social media and asking them for constant updates, however, are signs of trust issues or codependency. Trust means respecting your partner's decisions and feeling secure. 8. You enjoy spending time together. Whether that means dinner dates or cuddling on the couch, you enjoy spending time with your partner no matter what. A healthy relationship involves taking time out of your busy schedule to connect with your partner. It's not just an obligation, but a way for you to enjoy life. 9. You're friends. Great couples share common interests, enjoy hanging out together, and making each other laugh. Just like best friends, healthy couples can talk about anything and confide in each other without fear of judgment. It's important to feel comfortable with your partner. 10. You make decisions together. Healthy relationships aren't a power struggle. They are a partnership that allows both individuals to have equal say. If you disagree on which restaurant to go to for your date, one of you may have to give in, but next weekend, the choice should be yours. Compromise is key. 11. You get intimate. Yes, sex is extremely beneficial in healthy relationships, but so is intimacy. Intimacy can be bonding, sexually or otherwise, familiarity or romance. Maintaining a healthy relationship means courting your partner with affection, quality time, gift giving, or other forms of love language. 12. Lastly, you make each other better. Fixing is not the same as supporting. Healthy relationships consist of couples that love one another for who they are, not who they want them to be. Are there items on this list that you and your partner practice regularly? Let us know in the comments below.
A lot of good tips in this video, and so it is important, to double check if you do have these 12 signs, because in a healthy relationship, these are all necessities. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. So in conclusion, while having all of these other, relationships are important, whether it's dating wise, it's, the relationship with our boss, with our customers, all of those are essential. But the most important one is the one that we have with ourselves. So, as humans, we are meant to have a variety of relationships and communicate with others. That's how we thrive. And that's how we grow as a person. But however, the one that we need the most, or the one that we need to have the most reviewed, is the one we have with ourselves. So in other words, how can we make someone else happy if we're not happy? Or how can we try to grow with someone if we're stuck in this same mind frame? So we want to make sure that we are able to be by ourselves, that we're happy, that we establish what we want, what we need, and then we can have that relationship with other people, because that's the inviting part, that we have that relationship with ourselves and we're okay, and then we can invite other people to come in. And that's the one that we set up to tone and foundation for all of our relationships. So that's the main foundation. This is the relationship we have with ourselves. And then, so here are some ways that we can build a relationship that we have with ourselves. So one of them is self-care, which is doing activities that bring you happiness. So one of the things I like to do for self-care is journal. So I have a couple of journals, some dated back from like 10 years ago. But that's one of the things that I can do, and I can kind of write down, and I can just get all my thoughts out. It helps me unwind at the end of the day. And it could be, a lot of other things. It could be, a skin routine. It could be working out. It could be reading a book. It could be just taking some time where you're by yourself. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, practice self-care. Also self-awareness, realizing that what you're bringing to your own table negatively. So we have to be able to check ourselves. So like when we're like in a bad mood, or when we're, you know, angry, or if there's certain things that are going on in our minds, we have to make sure that we're not unloading that on our partner or anyone else in that matter. You know, we have to make sure that we're a good person to be around if we want to be around other people. Another one is self-respect, and that's setting boundaries and sticking to them. So this one I feel is the most important one, is because if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect others to respect you? So we have to have that self-respect. The first person that we have to do is respect ourselves, and that will, you know, in turn have other people respect us. Another one is meditation. Having a calm mind and a calm environment to thrive in. And so meditation, it could be something that you do like yoga. It could be a quiet time. There's other ways where you can have like no devices, you know, for a couple of hours or something, like, you know, something in that area. So just, you know, taking some time out of the day to make sure you give yourself that moment where you don't have to worry about everything else, you know, and you can bring yourself into a more calm environment. And then last but not least, self-love, taking the time to take care of your mind and body. And this kind of ties in with, you know, meditation and self-care, but it also, I do feel like it is a little bit different. So with self-love, and it kind of goes into play with self-respect. You know, if you don't love yourself, how can you let anyone love you? Or if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else? And so this is one of the more bigger ways to build that relationship with yourself. Because if you love yourself and you really do feel like you are your number one person, or if you feel like you have all these good qualities and you just want to take care of yourself, or, you know, like even like going to the gym or eating right, or just filling your mind with positive things, these are all different things for self-love. And that kind of it expresses outwards to other people, you know, because if you have all this self-love and you take care of yourself, then other people will see it and they're drawn to you. And sometimes, you know, it might not be the better people, but, you know, if you have all these things, and you can, you know, kind of decipher which one is good and which one is bad, you know. And so that is also another thing that you need to have, because once you develop this peace and calm within your life, you don't want to have any interference. And once you don't want to have any interference, this is where you become almost untouchable, because you have such a strong foundation with yourself. So that is the conclusion for our presentation.
So
Okay.
again, thank you for giving us this opportunity to present our own experiences and our research about how we build healthier relationships.